As we look forward after free agency, what is your Dallas Stars ideal lineup for opening night? We take a look at the 24-25 season schedule, plus an all-new streaming service that allows you to watch Stars games for free next season. That can't be true. Let's jump into it next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Happy Monday, Stars fans. I hope you enjoyed your 4th of July weekend. Spent it with some friends and family. Enjoyed the sun. Enjoyed some good food. I know I certainly did. And it's time to jump back into things here on a Monday. It's a week after free agency, so it's time to start thinking about opening night. What does your Dallas Stars ideal lineup look like for opening night? I'll share mine. We'll take a look at the 24-25 season schedule. Some interesting things to note in there. And then bye-bye Bally Sports. Hello Victory Plus, an all-new streaming service that you can watch Dallas Stars games for free next season. I'll share some more details on that as well a bit later on. So some exciting stuff has been unveiled here on a Monday. So grab a drink and let's jump into things on Locked On Stars. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So after the decisions that Jim Nill made on Monday, which left many scratching their heads, well, these are the cards the Dallas Stars have been dealt now. So what is the lineup going to look like for opening night? I even put together my power play units, my PK units as well, and would love to hear your answer in the comments below. So let's jump right into things. We start with the forwards because I think this is probably the easiest decision for Pete DeBoer for the most part, even though there are still some new components with Mavrik Bourque being elevated. You expect him to be an everyday NHL player. Matej Blumel could be your 13th for this season. Colin Blackwell, he jumps into the lineup, but he'll probably slide into the 4th line role. So there are still a lot of interesting decisions to be done. But if I had it my way, your number one line will be Roope Hintz, Jason Robertson, and Wyatt Johnston. This was sort of the line for Pete DeBoer that was his secret weapon in his pocket at some points during last season, and especially during the playoffs as well. We saw this line against Vegas was very, very effective when Dallas was really struggling to find their offense. And for the most part, they struggled to find their offense as the playoffs went along. So I think this trio of Johnston, Hintz, and Robertson with a full season and a full offseason ahead of them could be absolutely dynamic and frankly could be one of the top lines in all of the National Hockey League. If you're Pete DeBoer, you're trying to recreate Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski, which was so strong for a few seasons, but Pavelski took a really big step back this past season, even though he still picked up 60-plus points because Father Time never caught up to him until the postseason, unfortunately. So Johnston, Hintz, and Robertson is my number one line for the Dallas Stars next season. And of course, you could flip-flop some guys here because who knows, maybe Pete DeBoer wants to keep Johnston, Benn, and Stankoven together, which I thought was a very, very productive line. But for this case, I have Mavrik Bourque centering that line between Jamie Benn and Logan Stankoven. So you keep Stanky along with Benn, and you keep Benn with the young guns. Mavrik Bourque will need some help probably in his first season as a rookie. It's really, really exciting to think about. The Stars could have 2 Calder Trophy finalists next season with Stankoven and Mavrik Bourque. Imagine that. I think those two could have an unreal season in their really first full years in the National Hockey League. So I think you keep Jamie Benn on the left side. Of course, it gives you the flexibility to have 2 centers on your line. So you have Bourque and Benn. Stankoven can play center as well. So frankly, you have 3 centers on one line. But Jamie in the kids, which seems to be so effective for himself and the young guns. So Bourque and Stankoven, I think, are going to have no trouble at all. Plus, you reunite Bourque and Stankoven, who played the first 3 months together in the AHL and completely tore it up, and even had an AHL coach saying, I can't wait till they make it to the NHL, so he has to stop facing them. So those are my top 2 lines. And then you go to your third line. So this will be your top 9, and you keep Seguin along with Marchment and Duchesne. Probably the most consistent line for you last season. Duchesne's emergence as a fantastic top 9 player for the Stars last year really elevated their offense, and especially Tyler Seguin, who had an incredible year at 5-on-5. I think he had 25 goals at 5-on-5 last season, and a large part of that was due to Matt Duchesne. And then you have Mason Marchment, who Duchesne and Seguin rave about on a daily basis. I know many were skeptical of the signing a few years ago, but he had a bounce back season, a big year for Marchment. So you keep him on the left wing along with Duchesne on the right, and that still keeps the flexibility, which Pete DeBoer likes. You got 2 centers with Duchesne and Seguin who can win you some draws. Your fourth line is pretty different from a year ago, and really a lot different from the last 5 years. There's no Radek Faksa anymore since he got traded to St. Louis. So Sam Steele will center that line between Colin Blackwell and Evgeny Dadonov. Blackwell can play some center as well. Dadonov will be a really intriguing piece for Dallas because he was sort of the Swiss Army knife for Pete DeBoer in the playoffs last season. He jumped up. He played with, I believe it was Robertson and Pavelski at some point. You saw him alongside Tyler Seguin. He can kind of play with anybody. He gives you some speed on the outside as well. And if anybody's struggling, I would not be surprised if Evgeny Dadonov kind of slots his way into the top 6 at one point. But I think your fourth line will be Dadonov, Steele, and Blackwell. And you have no Ty Dellandrea as well with his departure to San Jose. If you're looking at your 13th forward, they do not have the cap space currently to add anyone, or they haven't made the move yet. I think they do have some cap space, excuse me. They're still working out Thomas Harley and his deal, so we'll see how the 13th forward ends up working out, but it could be Matej Blumel, as I mentioned. It could be Oscar Buck as well. There's multiple names you could look at that could be your 13th forward for the Dallas Stars next season. But all in all, you're pretty comfortable with your 12 forwards that you have in the NHL this next season. And you really shouldn't have a big drop-off from a year ago. A lot of the numbers suggest that losing Pavelski is an addition by subtraction. Then you're going to have the elevated roles of Mavrik Bourque, Logan Stankoven, of course, Wyatt Johnston, who had such an impressive season in 23-24. So I think there's a lot to like about this lineup. And I saw this one statistic thrown out on Twitter about a week ago. And by losing Pavelski and Tanev, the average age of the Dallas Stars has dropped to 25, which is pretty incredible. I also saw another statistic, and don't quote me on this, but I believe it said no team has won the Stanley Cup with more than 2 players over the age of 35. So the Stars are getting younger, which is a good sign. And Jim Nill, during this free agency period, I think made a statement, hey, we really like this core. We're going to figure it out down the line with our back end. But right now, we have to make decisions, tough decisions, that will leave us better in the future. And that can be really, really frustrating to fans. And it's really frustrating to me as well, because you're looking at this window of opportunity to win Stanley Cups. You've been so close 2 years in a row. And it's not that they made a massive step back, but it feels like they returned to where they were at the beginning of last season, or even took a tiny step back from where they were at the beginning of last season. But they do have contracts to worry about, and Bourque and Stankoven and Johnston, who are all going to get paid, and they're still trying to figure out if they can pay Thomas Harley long term. It looks more than likely it's going to be a bridge deal of some sorts. We're still looking for that, but for this case, Thomas Harley is re-signed. He's going to be in your opening day lineup. On the back end, I got Miro Heiskanen at left defense, and you have Lyubushkin on the top pairing with Miro. We talked to Uri last week, and he spoke about how Lyubushkin actually had some really nice numbers with Morgan Rielly for Toronto. And I took a look at some of the deeper underlying numbers there. This is courtesy of Natural Stat Trick, but you look at Lyubushkin and Rielly together in the regular season last year, their Corsi for percentage 48, their expected goals for 7.26, expected goals against 7.11. You look at Lyubushkin without Rielly, the Corsi for percentage drops drastically, 38%. His goals for, expected goals for, only 5.45, and his expected goals against is 8.49. So about a 1.5 increase when he's playing without Morgan Rielly. So you have Miro Heiskanen that can carry some of the load offensively and defensively. And who knows, maybe this is the pairing that the Dallas Stars are dreaming for. The number one reason I have Lyubushkin with Miro is just to get Miro back on his strong side. Allow him to play freely on his strong side. For the first time, it looks like the Dallas Stars have a plan in place where they can do that with their influx of right shot D-men with Dumba and Brendan Smith. And who knows, Nils Lundqvist could even crack the lineup in your bottom four as well. So Miro and Lyubushkin would be my top two here on defense. Your top four is rounded out. And this I really struggle with because I think Lindell deserves to be in your top four. He played tremendously last season. He obviously got a huge help from Chris Tanev, but I also just think he's a really, really strong defensive player. And you can make the argument he's your second best not all around, but your second best defensive defenseman behind Miro, who of course is world-class at everything. And I would be really intrigued about Lindell and Harley together, but then you get two left shots on the same pairing, and that just doesn't seem to be what you're looking for after already playing that way when you had Miro and Harley together last season. So I think your second pairing would be a combination of Harley and Dumba. And that does leave me with some concerns because Harley had an amazing improvement last year, especially in the goal scoring department. And Dumba, of course, is an okay player. Maybe he comes back to life a bit here in Dallas, playing with a stronger team, and his numbers do go up a bit. And Harley can still be the same player he was last year because it's obvious that Miro allowed Harley to take that extra gear and to take a more aggressive approach, especially off the rush. He was phenomenal off the rush, offensively and defensively. And my concern is with pairing him with Dumba, is that going to allow Harley to still do what he does best? And that's look for opportunities to join the rush and go and score goals. Or does Dumba and some of his deficiencies force Harley to have to do a little more to make up for that defensively? And you're not going to get the Thomas Harley we saw from a season ago. And that is where some of my concern lies on the back end, because Dumba is obviously not Chris Tanev, and you're replacing Tanev with Lyubushkin and Dumba to some degree. But if you're looking this at a one-for-one piece, Tanev is Dumba and Hakanpää is Lyubushkin. You're not missing a ton with Hakanpää to Lyubushkin. You're missing quite a bit from Dumba to Tanev. And on top of that, Dumba at 5-on-5 was not tremendous a year ago. He is inclined to take penalties. He took 82 penalty minutes a season ago, so you may have to worry about him on the back end to some degree. But I also realize he's 30 years old. He provides a punch on the back end, and that's what I'm looking forward to most for the Dallas Stars defensively. They do have some punch and some big guys that can throw some weight around, which we desperately needed last season. And yeah, I would have liked it to come in a different package, But hey, this is what the Stars are dealt with. Then you round it out with Lindell and Lundqvist. It could be Lindell and Smith, depending on how that shapes out. I'll be really intrigued to see Pete DeBoer's usage of Nils Lundqvist. They bring him back. It's his, third year? Is he finally going to make the step up? Are they finally going to give him a longer leash? I don't know. I have no confidence that that's going to be the case. I feel like you're going to get a lot of Brendan Smith this season, which is not terrible. He's only $1 million. I have no issue with that signing. He can also play forward, so maybe he could be your 13th forward in some pinches as well. But I think you have Lindell and Lindell, and Niels. At this point, you're paying him 1.2. Just throw him out into the fire, and if he crashes and burns, he crashes and burns, and Pete DeBoer can tell us, hey, I told you so. But let's give him a chance to fight his way into the lineup. I think he's still a really good player, and he had some good flashes last year. I struggle with his usage because if you're not going to trust him enough to play more than 5 minutes in a playoff game, was there really a reason to bring him back for that number? I don't know. But let's let him see how he fights for his spot next season. Now, quickly, just to get into some special teams, because that's some fun too. And Dallas obviously struggled against Edmonton, but I think you're seeing a similar PP1 of Johnston, Robertson, Hintz, and then I think you leave Jamie Benn on there. He's your net front presence. And of course, I think Jamie Benn should have been taken off the power play unit number 1 for large parts of last season because they really struggled on their injuries, but Ben does give you some net front presence. So would love to see Jamie Benn on your PP1. Your PP2, I think Seguin, Duchesne, Stankoven. I think you put Bourque in that position instead of Marchment because Bourque can sort of be your Wyatt Johnston where he's sort of your bumper position, high slot area. Seguin, I think now can embrace his role as that nut front player on the power play. He's really good in front of the net, and I think Pavelski should be credited with some of his improvement there. Seguin's not the guy that sits on the circle and just blasts one-timers anymore. I think you can move him in front of the net. Bourque gives you that facilitator playmaker, and then you have Harley on the back end that can quarterback power play number 2 as well. Or you leave Miro out like we saw for parts of last season. Your PK, I think you start with Johnston and Steele. You bring Steele back. He was excellent on the PK a season ago. And then you're looking at Lindell and probably Lyubushkin as your pairing. They brought in Lyubushkin in part due to his PK ability. So I think Lindell and Lyubushkin will be your Tanev and Lindell, so to speak. Your PK2, I think Stankoven and Hintz. Of course, Hintz can win some draws, and maybe he gets off quickly for Jamie Benn. We'll probably see a mixture of forwards there, but Stankoven was great on the kill as well. I think you put Miro on the back. I wouldn't trust Dumba as one of your pairs. I know he did some PK work for Minnesota and Arizona. Frankly, I don't know if you're going to be able to use him a lot because he does take quite a few penalties, but I think you leave Miro on there, and then you can have a combination. Maybe it's Dumba, maybe it's Harley. Harley made an improvement last year as well on the PK. So that's what you're looking for special teams wise. And then of course you got Jake Ottinger in net and Casey DeSmith. No real questions there in between the pipes. I spent a little bit longer on this than I would have thought, but I had a lot of thoughts about the Dallas Stars ideal lineup for opening night. So that's sort of where I stand currently. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what your lineup would look like. I'm sure many of you have differences in your forward lines. That's where it can get kind of fun. You can put some different guys together, but that's where I stand as of July 8th, 2024. So there we go. Let's now dive into the 2024-25 season schedule for the Dallas Stars. It was released last week. So let's take a look at some important dates, some tough stretches for the Dallas Stars, and some easy stretches as well next season. And we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports and I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app. It takes 30 seconds, by the way, to download on your smartphone. It's available on Google Play. It's available on the App Store. And you can dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Baseball's in full swing. It's the dog days of summer. You have the Copa America. You have the Euros currently going on. You have the British Open here in a couple of weeks. A lot of fun that you can get into this summer and make some money with FanDuel. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. The Dallas Stars will open up their 24-25 season on the road against the Nashville Predators. Thursday, October the 10th at Nashville at Bridgestone Arena. They will have their home opener at American Airlines Center on Saturday, October 12th versus the New York Islanders, which will be the first game of a 3-game homestand. How about opening up against the Predators, which they opened up against? Was it this last season? Maybe it was 2 years ago. I feel like all the years have got blurred together. I can't remember, to be completely honest, but they did open up the season against Nashville not too long ago as well. Anyways, you're opening up against a new look Nashville team that's going to have Stamkos and Marchessault, and Shea Saros, of course, has already taken his long-term deal, and you get Scott Wedgwood as your backup in that game as well. So a very familiar opponent for the Dallas Stars in the Central Division. And of note, one of the fun things occurring this next season, the Stars will now be taking on the Stanley Cup defending champions, Florida Panthers, on Friday, November 1st and 2nd in Finland for the Global Series, which will be an absolute hoot. Cannot wait to see that in November the 1st and the 2nd. So that's an important date to remember for Stars fans. Also, the Nations Faceoff tournament, just to give you an idea of when it's taking place. So it's in place of the All-Star game. So the Dallas Stars pre-All-Star break, I put that in quotations, will end on February 8th against San Jose. And then they will have 2 weeks after that. The Nations Faceoff will begin on February 12th and go all through February 20th. Jason Robertson should be expected to be on Team USA. Jake Ottinger could also make the USA team as well. But obviously you have Esa Lindell and Miro Heiskanen on Team Finland, and we'll see where some others jump in as well. I would expect Roope Hintz to probably be on there as well. So tons of Stars players to keep your eye out on for the Nations Face-Off. Speaking of some months or some really in particular tough games for the Stars, December will be a home-heavy month for Dallas. They'll play 9 times at the AAC, and then they will play 8 road games in January and March. The team's longest road trip of the season is 5 games, and that's January 7th through the 14th. They have a day after Thanksgiving game on versus Colorado, November 29th. And they have another New Year's Eve game, this time against Buffalo on December 31st. So New Year's Eve stays in Dallas, which has always been a fun time in DFW. I think the toughest month for Dallas is going to be that January into February. And I think it starts on the 18th against Colorado. They have some tough opponents, but they also have a tough 5-game road stand or road trip in there. They play New York, Philadelphia, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto. But beginning with the 18th, you get Colorado, Detroit, Carolina, Vegas, St. Louis, Vegas, Vancouver. And then your last 4 games pre-Nations face-off is Columbus, Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. So not the toughest schedule, but that will be, I think, a very, very important stretch for Dallas. And December is home heavy, and there are some good opponents in there, but I think Dallas should survive that quite well. But I think the toughest stretch for Dallas is that January from the 18th on, and we saw that as a real tough month for the Stars a season ago, mainly because they went through some tough injuries. They lost Miro for about a month, and Otter. Hockenbach went down during that time. Sagan went down during that time. They had multiple guys miss some time with some injuries in the month of February, which of course led to Logan Stankoven being called up. So I would look for that to be kind of your tough stretch. And of course, that's after 3 months. Hopefully the Stars are in good position after that after that first 3 months, and they won't have to worry about a tough stretch. But just some games by month. They have 5 home games in October, 6 in November, 9 in December, 7 January, just 2 in February. They have 7 in March and 5 against April. Back-to-backs, they have 11 sets of back-to-backs, which is 22 games total for next season, because back-to-backs are very, very important. And unfortunately, they are sometimes schedule losses. Dallas was really good at back-to-backs in the first, I think, 3 to 4 months of the year. And then as the miles start to wear on you, they really, really struggled in back-to-backs, as most teams do. So 22 total games, 11 sets of back-to-backs for next season. So there are some important dates to look out for, but I don't think none bigger than November 1st and 2nd. The Global Series in Finland taking on Florida. 12 o'clock puck drop on Friday, and a 10 o'clock morning puck drop on Saturday for you, those back in the Metroplex or in the United States. So very, very exciting stuff for the Dallas Stars 24-25 season schedule. The good thing is, when talking about watching the Dallas Stars next season, it could not get any easier. A new streaming service has been announced that will allow you to watch Stars games for free next season. I'll tell you about it in just a moment. Bye-bye Bally Sports. Hello Victory Plus, an all-new streaming service the Dallas Stars have pivoted to after breaking away from the regional sports network model. There's been a whole lot of kerfluffle with Bally Sports and them going into bankruptcy. We saw Florida not too long ago. They went a different way than Bally Sports, and now the Stars have followed suit, and they've decided to go with Victory Plus. It will be available to all fans beginning in September, and fans in the Stars' local broadcast territory will be able to stream all of the team's games for free. Fans outside the viewing area cannot watch live games and be limited to ancillary content. So you have to be within the team's local broadcast territory. I know many fans had questions, many of you over in the UK even asking if that will be available to you guys as well. And if I'm reading from this correctly, that will not be the case. So it may be a bit tougher for some of you guys to take in this game, but who knows what will happen here in the next couple of months. It's a partnership with a parent media company, APMC, free and supported by ads for all users. APMC is perhaps most known for its work in launching Dude Perfect streaming product. And Dude Perfect, of course, many of you in the DFW Metroplex know, is absolutely gigantic. So some exciting stuff in general. Brad Alberts, the president and CEO of the Dallas Stars, put out the eyes emojis yesterday on late Sunday night, and it had all of us going, oh my God, what's going on? Big extension, who knows? But this is obviously the announcement which they made this morning. So Victory Plus, which is a huge thing for Stars fans everywhere. So free ad-supported service, a 7-year deal with APMC. It's a huge change from the traditional model, and this seems to be sort of the trend where everything is going. I know the Vegas Golden Knights did it. I think theirs was called Knights Plus, if I'm not mistaken. They did this model a year ago as well, and I think just a great thing for hockey fans in general, and a good thing to get away from Bally Sports, which was not my favorite, to put it lightly. I was kind of out on Bally when I went to watch opening day for the Texas Rangers. What was it? It was last season, their World Series season. Of course, I purchased Bally to watch Stars games all year, so I was ready for the baseball season. And I didn't have cable, and you couldn't watch the Rangers. And that irritated me, to say the least. So I was kind of out on Bally after that. That was so infuriating. And I'm sure many of you probably ran into the same issue if you didn't have cable and you were just purchasing Bally to watch the Stars all season. And then you go to watch it and you had to have cable, which made no sense. I already had my gripes with MLB TV because I got it free through T-Mobile. And when I was in Texas, I can't watch the Rangers because of blackouts. But when you're away, you can watch them anytime you want, which is great. So this is a long way of saying this is a great thing for Stars fans everywhere. It'll be intriguing to see what other DFW teams do as well. I know the Wings are on Bally Sports, and of course the Mavs. Are they going to go to some sort of model like this? But a straight-to-consumer streaming service, Victory Plus. So we'll hear a lot more of the details coming out in the next few weeks as well. Just a quick quote from Brad Alberts. He said, "After years of researching the right solution and careful planning with our partners at APMC, we're proud to announce this pioneering streaming platform that will literally change the game for sports distribution on Victory Plus. Our first priority has always been our fan base, and on Victory Plus, fans will be able to stream 100% of Stars content for free through this innovative and unique streaming platform for sports programming." So great stuff there. I would assume you're probably going to get some on-demand, some replays as well, so you can go back and watch games. I'm one of those people, if I'm out doing something on a certain night and I can't watch the game, I like to tape it necessarily, even though there's on demand. And then I can come home at like 12 o'clock or whatever it is at night. I can turn on the game. I stay away from Twitter, so I don't know the score and all that good stuff. I'm sure many of you fall into the same boat. So I would assume there's probably going to be an on-demand feature of some sort. And then it'll sort of be like their YouTube, and they'll put up videos and extra content as well. All in all, good news from the Dallas Stars. Victory Plus getting away from Bally Sports. And yeah, that'll do it for today's episode. Some good news all around here on a Monday. Hope everybody enjoyed your weekend once again. As well, I do want to say, for any of you that are dealing with Tropical Storm Beryl and, well, the hurricane that looks to make landfall here shortly in Houston, any of those in the area, I hope you're okay. And maybe many of you got out of there before some of the worst damage takes place. But looks like Texas is going to be in for a good one here in the next couple of weeks. So please stay safe out there, and thinking about all of you Locked On Stars listeners that are dealing with Tropical Storm Beryl as well. Have a great rest of your day. As always, thank you to all you everydayers out there for tuning in to Locked On Stars. I know it can get monotonous. It can get a bit tedious talking about the same thing over and over again, but I'm trying to keep it fresh, have some fun for you as always, and hopefully it brings some entertainment to your day. We'll see you tomorrow, Stars fans. Enjoy your day. So long.